Welcome and thanks for joining us on another episode of the WealthTech Insider. I'm your host, Danni and Grande, and today I'm joined by our very own Peter Warren, who's a joint managing director at Finura Group. Hey Pete, how's it going?
Hey Danny, good, thank you, really good.
Happy Friday.
It is Friday. It's, God, the week goes fast, doesn't it?
All right, so today we're a wealth tech company. We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't have another episode on AI and where things are going. I mean, it's just been moving so quickly and things are happening quite fast as we anticipated with AI. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Oh, you're all over it now. I think you're going through an emotional journey with AI. You are having a hate relationship with AI. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's volatile. I'll have to. It's volatile. I'm having like ethical conundrums as well as this is really helping me, and then I move to I love this to oh god, it doesn't understand what I'm saying, and yeah, it's quite a roller coaster.
You're my canary in the coal mine with AI, because I'll just jump on any trend and whether the newest thing, I'll look at it and all the rest of it. But I look to you for spiritual guidance on technology trends. That's what I should be thinking. That's a good thing about our business, right? We've got a whole mixed view on technology, and because our clients do. So it's good that you have a certain position, and that I have a certain position, and doesn't mean we're right, just means we're different.
Yeah,
but I have been. You know what though? Controversial view here, but I reckon AI is benefiting you more than anyone else in Finura right now.
I tell you, I was with one of our clients this morning, and I was talking to them about CoPilot and file notes and stuff like that. And I just said, it's literally saving my bacon at the moment. And I didn't say bacon either. It's really saving me because it's just those incremental efficiencies, the things that just you don't think are taking time, but they're taking time out of your day. It's super helpful. I feel like I'm about to launch into a bit of a evangelical rant here about.
Have you found a new way of working? Is it habitual for you now, do you think?
It's becoming that way. I feel like I could almost outline a process for the way that I'm utilizing AI with consulting and with our clients. I'm integrating it into, if for advisors who listen to our podcast, if you think about the client journey or the advice journey where you're onboarding the client, doing the advice, researching, modeling, all that sort of stuff, and then you're implementing it, and then you're reviewing, going in that circle.
Yeah.
If you look at it at a high level, we have a similar process to what we do and how we interact with our clients. And I feel like, CoPilot, if we're going to draw a diagram of what tech I'm using across the board, CoPilot's infiltrating each of those jobs to be done for me personally. It's been really good.
It's just fascinating because I think it is more and more, I'm thinking it's more about the individual than the company.
Yeah.
AI, initially anyway, of how we adopt it. Because I just think a lot of it's habit, knowing, AI could do that for me, or or more importantly, AI can make that better. It kind of take time and care. But I've noticed it for what it's worth. I've noticed the speed you turn things around. That it's incredible. And as much as we tell our clients, right? We tell them we use AI, and I mean they're not paying us for our time; they're paying us for our experience, right? And our guidance. So if we can find more ways to be efficient and turn things around faster for them, I know they're happy. And we share the learnings with them. I think that's the key bit. The thing that I'm thinking more and more about is how do we retrain the tens of thousands of people that work in financial planning practices across Australia to use AI? It is so different.
It is. But there's also, I'm sorry to use this corporate term, low-hanging fruit. There is low-hanging fruit. Sorry. Things that we can attack quickly in financial advice businesses. It's file notes. For every one of our clients, we have got really awesome clients, very sophisticated clients who have amazing value propositions and team members and everything. But file notes still comes up as the biggest problem for them. And it's sort of, going from the advisor through to the associates when it goes into that production advice part of the journey, where the advisors are advisors. They love talking to their clients and they love having those relationships with their clients. And that's what, it's about for them, as well as obviously giving them really good financial advice. But I think when it comes to actually the giving that to the back office. There's data missing. There's associates saying, "Oh, I don't know what happened in that meeting. I've got to go back to the advisor and ask how that all went," and try to put that information together so that they can then proceed and put that advice together. Just use CoPilot, guys. Just record your teams, the Teams meetings,
Yep.
and you don't have to just have a Teams meeting to record your Teams meetings. I do them in person now, and record Teams meetings in person. It looks like I've said the entire meeting myself, but you can work around that. That's fine, and just give that. Tell your associates that it's ready, and they can go in and look through the notes. And that's it. I'm gonna say 50 to 60% reduction in time in that part of the process. I don't know if I should hold myself to a metric, but I'm gonna.
Oh, but it's that's a good metric to have, and I think we because as I said, the client doesn't want doesn't value that part of
No.
it. It's a lousy part of the back end that no one really wants to do. And if it makes you better, and I probably find that when I've got the record button on, I'm a lot more present in the meeting.
Yes.
I'm less worried about what I'm writing down, and because I know the summary is going to be pretty good, and I can just contribute. I think it's very hard to contribute and take notes at the same time, personally.
Yeah. The important thing though there is to make sure you've got an agenda. I feel like make sure you're just, even you don't have to tell the client about the agenda if you don't want to, but just have an agenda that you're talking to so that you make sure you're covering off all the things that the associates or the next people in that process are going to need. I think that would be my advice there, but it's there.
That helps. That helps the co-pilot, right, too, when you say, hey, next item on the agenda is this. It does actually help,
Yeah.
I find, the description. It's a bit like those, I suppose, like those file noting apps that have been built for our sector that have quite discrete training built into them. It's because it can listen for those key things. Oh, now we're going to talk about your assets. Now we're going to talk about your goals. And they've just built a bit of training into that to do it. Or maybe if we just, sort of talk more thoughtfully about the meeting and narrate the meeting is probably the thing there that you're probably doing. It'll help the outcome for the notes.
Yeah, definitely. Copy that link, put it in your CRM, and there's your file notes done.
Yeah.
So that's Danny's tip of the day. Do you know the other thing I did the other day? I was playing around with an AI tool that was creating me a knowledge base and an AI chatbot. And I think I don't know if I've told you this yet, but I might have put myself out of a job by by building out this bot. So it's a knowledge base. So what I did was give it some information about the type of projects that we have with our clients, the typical pain points that come up in our advice tech discovery sessions, and some of the solutions that we've come up with in the past for those particular pain points. So then I went in and passed it some information, gave it some pain points, and it came up with a package of technology recommendations. Now, I'm not going to say it was perfect. It had a lot of work to do, and I'm going to say we still need a human in this process, of course. But I think for us, our consulting area at Finura is growing quite rapidly, and we're starting to bring new team members on into consulting. And I think for me personally, it's a way to train our team members as to our approach, the types of things that we talk to our clients about, the types of things that our clients are telling us, and then some of those solutions that we could kind of kick the ball around with. We don't have a cookie cutter approach. In fact, I don't think any of our clients have ever had the same kind of solution because everyone has nuanced issues. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. Danny Bot. Never thought I'd see the day where you were playing. I think one thing I would say, like part of our process is this peer review bit that we do. So just for people who haven't worked with us, before we present anything back to a client, we tend to have a session with the wider team and talk about the client and what we're doing and what we're recommending. And that's a really useful devil's advocate process, I think, for people that are probably less aware of that. And so perhaps that Danny Bot could just be a good tool for you and the team to sort of say, well, here's what we're thinking for the clients, or anything else we've missed, or other things we're thinking about, or, as part of that potentially, that's one thing I use AI a lot for now is the models I use are for when I'm doing strategy papers or presentations, I'll often drop it in the AI and just sort of say, hey, pretend you're this type of person. What sort of questions did you ask? Like an analytical person, or depending on who the audience is. But it's really good at that. That sort of thought strategy coach. How I
Yeah,
describe it.
brainstorming. Do you think, when I was sort of thinking about use cases for advice businesses for this particular application I was playing around with the other day, do you reckon you could put in, kick the ball around on advice strategies potentially? So if you gave it, you're an advice business and you gave it information and examples of previous statements of advice for certain types of clients and demographics and all that sort of stuff, do you think you could kick the ball around there with AI on what goes into the SOA? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I think, and look, some people are already sort of doing this, right? But it's probably just the bit that's hardest to do still, and I still think it requires a human, is to be able to get out of the client, the end client, the advisor's client. What are the goals? What are the real risk profile things here? It's actually context. So I think the hardest thing that you can't automate is context from the client. So sure, you can use AI to sort of devil's advocate. Oh, is there other strategies we haven't considered here? Or automating maybe that. The thing I really like that I haven't seen anyone really do yet, but maybe we could, is could you just automate the alternative strategies considered part of the section? So, SOAs often say, what did we discount? And quite often that is hard to sort of capture, or at least have more than one or two things. And so it could be quite good at that. But look, it's, can I say the date? We've got to get this out. But it's 13th of September today. So OpenAI did overnight release a new ChatGPT model, which is called 401, I should say, which is their complex reasoning model. It'll be known as Strawberry, will be the popular term.
Why strawberry? Is there a reason for
that? So there's a little analogy around, there's a strawberry problem, which I probably won't go into today, but there's a reason for it. So just Google, I just tell her, Google why is the new model called Strawberry, and you'll see why. But effectively, I've played with it. I put something on LinkedIn this morning. It built a little HTML app for my kids this morning, like instantly. Thought through the product, did it really, really well. It's a complex reasoning model. So they're actually, they've got it. So the previous model, 4.0, I think on a PhD maths exam, only got an 18% result on a complex exam. This one got 86%.
Yeah, okay. So it's like going from a high schooler to a
perfect analogy.
Degree, PhD student.
Or a me to a competent mathematician. So it can do complex reasoning. It can break down problems into different component tasks and solve those problems. Then it can reassemble back together again. And it's only been released like 12 hours ago, right? So people are still playing with it. But I think this is incredible, this next step. So I don't know, mate. It happens every day. Something new comes out, right? And these models just keep getting better and better. It's still unpredictable, though. You still get variable results. Even Sam Altman came out this morning and said, look, I know this is all very exciting, but we're still in testing. And he's basically saying, you are our testers. The world is our testing lab. So be really careful what you do with this. But it tells me that the AI is getting better and better at more complex jobs. And the one thing from half an hour playing with it this morning, the one thing I have probably observed with it is that previous models of AI really relied heavily on prompting. So great prompting is the key to great outcomes. This one seems to do a better job of, if you have a substandard prompt, it'll still give you a better outcome. So it seems to be able to think for itself a little bit about what does the person really want, and based on this, and obviously the more people use it, the better its training will get. So
I've got a confession to make. This is a little shameful, but when I was building the AI, it asked me what I wanted to do. So I used ChatGPT to come up with the use case for me that I then copied and pasted into the AI tool. So it was really articulate. I was just I was trying to get out of my brain. Okay, I want to be able to do these things. This is happening in the business. What should I do? How can I create this prompt? And it gave this beautiful prompt, which I used AI to give to the AI.
I was worried, Dan. I thought we have to turn on the after dark mode or something, the explicit content mode. I don't know what was going to come out then. No, but that's good though. Like I think that's an under realized, underutilized thing to actually help me get a better prompt and then use it. I was in New Zealand this week. I gave a presentation to a bunch of advisors at a study tour. There's a lot of study tours going on at the moment. I'm a bit worried, a bit nervous about all these ideas are going to come back from the US from these advisors on tech. Um, anyway, it was a study tour. I was the AI presentation topic of the day, and I just showed them a usage of AI, which we've been sort of considering for some of our clients who are in the ultra high net worth market of delivering more personalized, tailored portfolio communications to clients. So I've got a managed account, make some changes. I write this pretty bland update to my clients in an email, and that's that. So I've been using Claude a lot, which is the Anthropic version of ChatGPT. It's sort of a different model. Claude seems to be a lot better at writing, creative writing, and those things. And they've got some new features for the pro models, if you want to pay for all this stuff like I do, where you can effectively run, they call them projects. So I have a project in there, which is basically a whole bunch of personas of potential clients that I might have. So, cohorts of clients. So there was conservative Colin and ambitious Amber and millennial Millie and these kind of things, right? But I used AI to come up with all these. So we came up with like a dozen sort of client cohorts and their different characteristics, their demographics, how they like to be communicated with, all that sort of stuff. And I think every advice business could do this. Like if you've got 300 clients, it's pretty easy to do. And so, and what we've built is effectively a little project engine inside Claude, which will allow us to drop in that monthly newsletter, which is a very generic thing from the managed account provider, and then say, hey, can you give me 12 different comms to send out to each of these cohorts, and then drop it in a MailChimp template. So it does that all really, really well. And it was quite cool. So the conservative column was all about, just had a lot of phrasing in there around, nothing to worry about. And this is all part of our process. And we're very, your money's in safe hands, blah, blah, blah. Although I think writing that's a red flag, but nonetheless, those sort of things, trust me. So there's that. And then the millennial Millie was, had a couple of emojis in there, and it was more casual language, but explorative feeling language. It was just better. It was just better than what it was. And it actually took the time to explain some of the key concepts. So you may have heard this term before, but this is what it means, where it didn't in some of the other models. So I think this whole, this ability to sort of take pretty bland communications and make it, just take that extra little bit of care and time to put something to your clients that will resonate with them more and do it in a really efficient way. It's there now. The AI is there now. It just takes a bit of effort, right, to step outside of that. So, and it was funny in the room, none of the advisors had heard of Claude. They had no idea what I was using, even though it's one of the most widely used chat bots now for AI. And because it's now these chat interfaces are coming out with more product-like features where you can store prompts on there now. You can store training data on there now, so you can give it a lot of context around who you are, your brand voice, I suppose you would describe it as, how I like to write.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, how you write and how you communicate.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
drop in a whole bunch of content that you've previously written. Say, this is how I write, and it learns from that. So that's been my thing the last couple of weeks to play with. And now I know there's no, I know some people will look at that and go, that's amazing, and go away and do nothing with it. But I do think, we have some clients that charge their clients $30,000, $40,000 a year, right, for advice and services. I reckon those clients deserve something a bit better than a pretty bland email once a month. I think So I reckon that's the next step of things we'll be doing with our clients, is helping them scale their communications in a far more tailored way than what they've been historically doing.
And you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's you have to take the time to sit down and think about those use cases and think about those the pain points potentially that are nice and easy to hit. For example, file notes. I truly think that is something to look at. So in the news, Klarna, I think you might just need to talk about this a little bit more. Klarna is decommissioning Salesforce or reducing its licenses with Salesforce, I think, and killing it altogether. And AI is replacing a lot of what Salesforce was doing for Klarna.
Yeah, this is fascinating. So this only came out in the last 24 hours. So Klarna, for those of you probably heard of it before, it's a buy now, pay later
Used it?
business.
Yep.
Yep, you've used it. Okay. So personal views aside on buy now, pay later providers, but I think CBA was an investor in Klarna, so it's been a really successful business. Is it any good, Danny, the product, or is it like
I
Afterpay?
mean, as an end user, Afterpay, Klarna, same.
They're all the
Just
same,
let
yeah.
me pay it down in 4 weeks.
Yeah, okay. All right. But yeah, so I think Klarna has 700 or 800 employees, and where they've got to is they are decommissioning Salesforce and Monday.com, which is their reporting engine. So they were using Salesforce for all the automations, process workflows, and everything, and they're literally using AI now to run all their complex tasks, all their employee processes. They're running all their customer service. So the data here I have is that their customer resolution time has now reduced over the last 12 months since using their own AI chatbot. Times have been reduced by 82%, average customer resolution time from 11 minutes to 2.
Wow.
They've also boosted revenue per employee by 75%, and 90% of all their employees are now using their custom OpenAI tools daily.
Goodness me.
So
That's significant.
there's got to be a study on this business and what they've done. Because I've always had a sneaking suspicion that someone said to me a long time ago, a really well-regarded CTO from a large company said he always felt that CRMs are a bit overrated, what they do, that we tend to make these very CRM-centric decisions. And in reality, they're just a capability that sits on top of a whole bunch of data. And that's probably a nice way of thinking about it. And so to that end, you can sort of see, and probably some of the tools you're playing around with, Danny, in our experiments probably allow for some of this, right? Where you can put in a whole bunch of customer data and just automate processes.
Yeah. You can almost, the way that I understand it, and I won't disclaimer, I'm by no way, shape, or form an expert in any of this, but you could actually move, for example, an implementation workflow into some of these applications and get it to automate the setting of the emails, the whatever's happening in that, the follow-ups, all that sort of stuff in the app itself, which is really useful. But then in addition to that, if you're sort of looking at wanting to analyze your data, so the way that we sort of think about dashboards, I guess, in traditional CRMs, you can feed it the Excel spreadsheets and feed it that analysis, and it'll analyze and give you those insights and the charts and the graphs and the pretty images as well. So, it's sort of helping support that function from an analytics and BI perspective as well, which is really interesting. But again, you kind of need to know what you want to do with it. Like, what is the use case for you, and how are you actually going to use it? Because, this is something that a business would need to think about, holistically, as to how it's going to support the one that I'm talking about, how it's going to support those processes throughout the client journey. I think if you really sort of understand that and break that down, you can really get I'm feeling like some pretty cool benefits.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of interest in this. Klarna's an interesting business because it's a well-funded business, but there's only 700 employees, right? So doing this sort of thing is quite easy, where if you were trying to rip Salesforce out of ANZ Bank, that'd be a whole different category. But I would expect to see a lot of eyes on this sort of thing from the large enterprise Silicon Valley companies like Salesforce, who are going, well, holy shit, this is our core business model. There's a lot of money in CRM globally. I should ask AI how much money is spent on CRMs every year, but it'd be a lot, I'm sure. And is sort of AI coming for their lunch? Is AI going to be the disruptive thing? So in the same way they disrupted on-premises, CRMs that used to exist and went cloud, and Salesforce disrupted that. Is there a new movement potentially? And it's potentially small businesses will be the first to move on this, because they're the ones that are probably the least dependent on CRMs, in that regard.
But also, if you're a smaller business and you have Salesforce, how much are you paying for that? It's not a cheap solution. So if there's a way that you can cut costs and bring in, some amazing efficiencies, because again, if you've got Salesforce, the assumption is that you're either not using it very well, or you've invested a lot of money in addition to your licensing to be able to utilize it well. So you might have a partner that helps you and outsource support for Salesforce specifically. So I think, that's, it's something that's going to be really interesting because businesses are going to want to save money
I
on this
think the
stuff.
biggest problem for CRMs is, we were talking about this earlier, some broader companies in our space, right, that grapple with being enterprise companies but trying to sell to small businesses, and it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the CRM is really important for the business owner because that's where all their data is. That's where the value is. So when someone's doing due diligence on you to acquire you, you go to the CRM, you pull out all the data, you run a lot of your compliance on it. But the CRM generally offers a pretty shit experience for the user. So the person employed in your business using a CRM is difficult. Whether it's Salesforce or whatever they're using, no one really ever says, "Oh, gee, I just love using that." You tell me, but they're not. They're not the tools they're in love with, I reckon. I mean, Jesus, I just lost half a day yesterday just rebuilding some stuff in our CRM Zoho because we're doing some new stuff for Finura, and I just read it. It just was so complicated. I don't know. I think I made it worse. But anyway, live and learn. But this is part of the problem too, where probably Klarna have said, so they've got this internal AI bot they've built called Kiki. And so they've probably said, well, actually, our employees are more likely to use a chat bot now because that's what they're comfortable with, than try to navigate their way around some CRM with different workflows and things. And the problem with CRMs is they're not smart. They are built on a whole bunch of assumptions on hierarchies, permissions, user groups, all those things, all the stuff that we deal with our clients. And you want to make changes to that, you want to do things that your user group's not allowed to do, impossible. You hit a road. And so maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is going to be that whole, everyone's questioning where's the money in AI. Maybe it will be the transition of literally hundreds of billions of dollars in annual licensing from traditional CRM players to new technologies, because of what AI can do. Now, some of these companies will disrupt themselves, like Microsoft have a CRM business as well, and they're already thinking about this, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be a bit nervous if I was Salesforce. Like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not least because of the pricing of Salesforce
Yeah.
as well. We get clients that they're specifically looking to get out of Salesforce because of the amount it's costing their businesses. I think you could argue in our industry, Salesforce could potentially be overkill for a lot of the businesses that we have in our industry. I think, it really is an enterprise CRM, so you can see why it works in, massive industries and big companies. But for us, I think, let's watch this space. It's going to be really interesting.
Well, I hope someone does a real study on it of what I'm sure people will,
Yeah.
for various reasons. But so Klarna, there you go.
Interesting. All right. Any other AI tools you're playing with at the moment?
Nah, Claude's my favorite at the moment, well and truly. I know we are exploring in Finura some other AI solutions that we think could help our clients with some automation, particularly at the moment. I think it's early days, Danny, to mention who that is, because I don't want people going out experimenting with stuff that we haven't done our due diligence on. But we do, it's quite interesting. I'm probably getting more and more comfortable as time goes on that the large AI solutions like Claude and others are making significant steps on data privacy and security. I think comfort is growing with major enterprises on what these solutions are offering and how we share data. And so equally, I think the key thing we've been trying to talk to the market about is really knowing which sort of AI feature or which AI model is the right one for which job. Is the key bit now that I think we're getting clear on. So where do we use OpenAI? Where do we use Claude? Where do we use Perplexity or other models, Azure models? Because even in some of those things you're playing with, those enterprise AI developers, you've got to pick the model. You've got to actually make a decision of what AI model to use for those. And so the outcomes are hugely different. So I think the more we play with those AI models, and I think there's going to be a whole consulting industry just in understanding of the 50 large language models out there, which are the right ones to use for which job. That's going to be a key thing around that, which is really kind of cool. Our clients are still file noting. Everyone's all over file noting still. It's still a big one. It's but you know what? Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Definitely.
Hey, and best new feature, I put something on LinkedIn. See that book meeting with CoPilot button on Outlook?
The scheduling one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when an email comes through, you just go schedule a meeting with CoPilot, and it drops the agenda in and half-hour meeting. It does it
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's just,
not that I want to be scheduling more meetings, but like
yeah.
I really like it.
That's an example of a really good, easy efficiency to bring through.
Yeah, my dream would be, because we use Calendly and lots of bookings for things. It'd be just awesome if every Microsoft 365 user and globally could have a little version of Calendly built into Outlook where they could say, these are the times I'm happy for people to opt in to put meetings in my diary where I have a relationship with them. And so that CoPilot thing actually schedules the meeting based on not just your diary, but also on the other person's diary.
Oh,
Automatically knows where they're going to be, where you're going to be.
yeah.
I reckon that's got to be on the pipeline somewhere for someone at Microsoft to solve. I'm going to be in Sydney on these days. When's of all my contacts, when are they going to be in Sydney? Like, you have to opt into this stuff, but wouldn't that be a game changer for
I feel like I
scheduling?
can build something with this. I'm going to try.
You know, crack.
I'll have a crack. Let's see what we can come up with.
Well, if you can solve that, you probably won't work at it for too much longer.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. But still feels to me like Microsoft's the one to do this because they have the data.
They do.
They know where people are and all those things. And talk about. I mean, Calendly has done so much for so many people in terms of saving time on scheduling meetings. But I think this is that next level where it's an automated diary manager built into Outlook. The productivity savings would just be incredible.
Yeah. Do you remember we've got a client that they were sort of grappling with an online booking tool that was going to be Bookings or Calendly, but they had a complexity around the way that they were scheduling appointments. So they had 9 advisors, 4 car parks, 3
the car parks,
3 meeting rooms. So you had to accommodate.
It's an important client car parks are an important thing. Particularly if your office is somewhere where parking tickets are given
in the CBD. Yeah. So Calendly really was the only one that could kind of facilitate that. But even in that situation, a human had to step in and get involved in one of those options. So I think, you're right. Something that could actually facilitate the booking and the looking at all of those dynamics and getting that right. That would be very cool, because these guys are spending heaps of time. Who's got the car park that day? You double booked me. I'm in that meeting room. It was that sort of stuff going on. So, yeah. Interesting.
Right. We'll keep working on that.
All right. As always, we encourage ethical use of AI. And I think it's just really important to just clarify, if you are going to be using these tools, make sure you have some guidelines in place in the business before you go out and start building stuff like we are doing here at Finura. So I think just think about how you want to interact with your clients. Make sure your clients know if they're interacting with anything AI or that's been generated by AI, that they're aware that that's the case. Would probably be my little key takeaway here, Pete.
Good tips, Danny. Know what you're playing with. That's probably the key thing. So if you see any of your staff playing with these tools, just ask them, do they know what they're actually doing?
Is that why we booked a meeting in after this?
Well, we are an ISO 27001 company, so I'm sure Aaron will be all over you on these things.
I'll tone it down.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Pete, for joining the podcast today. And thank you for listening to another episode of the WealthTech Insider. If you haven't already, you can go and complete our technology health check at www.fineragroup.com to get an idea of how your business is tracking and where you could potentially make improvements with your tech stack. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, and share the episode with your network. And we look forward to seeing you next time.